On September 17th, I attended my very first pop-up shop. In this 3-part series, I will tell you about what I did to prepare, what happened the date of, and what my final thoughts were about the entire experience. What's up, you guys? It's Peace, and I want to welcome you to my channel, A Piece by Piece. This video is considered part 1. Here I will cover how I found the event, the vision that I had for my booth, the total amount I spent in gathering all the supplies, and how I constructed everything. So let's get right into it. First things first, the event. The event that I attended was called Yonkers Riverfest. It took place in downtown Yonkers and is known to be one of the largest one-day festivals in Westchester County, New York. It typically attracts close to 15,000 people, and they were not wrong about that. In one of my last videos, I believe it was the how to find your target audience one, I mentioned that when you sign up for these pop-up shops, you want to attend the ones that you know will bring in your target audience. That way you can maximize your experience and make the most amount of money. And that was some really good advice that I did not follow, but I'm not going to get too far ahead of myself because I'll mention that in part 3. I found this specific event online on Google under the events tab, and I think it was maybe either between the 10th to 15th posts that popped up, and the flyer caught my eye, so I decided to look into it. I believe I typed in something like street fairs or craft fair or something like that, and in total, to be a vendor, it cost me $280, and it was a lot of money, especially for small businesses. But don't let that scare you, especially if you're also a small business owner and you do want to attend pop-up shops as well. A lot of the events that I saw ranged anywhere from $50 to $120. I don't know, for some reason I decided to go with the most expensive one. I guess I figured go big or go home, right? After I applied, I quickly got accepted, and it was time for me to figure out what I wanted my booth to look like. The space that they gave me was a 10 by 10 booth. And because my product line is very, very small, I knew that a basic table display was not going to cut it. I simply did not have enough products, and I knew because of that I would have to overcompensate. I decided I wanted to create something that would catch people's eye and draw them into my booth. So to Pinterest I went, and in my search I looked through so many different types of displays, and I landed on the Kira board. The whatever board. All the displays that I saw were so beautiful, so I decided to recreate one with my own spin. And in addition to having a Kira board, I decided I would utilize my table by including things like a price spin wheel, a how-to chart, and a shapewear fabric display chart so people could feel the fabric. And I sort of just wanted to make things as interactive as possible for my potential customers. So with those things being my primary focus, I went ahead and started gathering my supplies. When I tell you, at this time, me and Facebook Marketplace became for lifers.
We locked in. We're for lifers now. Fuck you talking about?
Yeah. That's my bestie Westie. Nothing is topping Facebook Marketplace. The first purchase I made were these massive 30 by 40 inch foam boards I was going to use for my Kira board. After that, I purchased a full form torso mannequin so I could display my shapewear on it. Then I bought this really cheap tent
that I freaking hate.
Even though it got the job done, it was just a lot when it came to setting up. But I'll cover all that in part 2 of this series. I picked up a TV for 20 bucks. Well, technically it was 30 because I got scammed out of $10. So yeah, you gotta be safe out here in these Facebook streets, y'all. It could have been worse, but like, I worked for my money. Since my product is a shapewear that prevents dresses and skirts from riding up, I figured it would make more sense for me to have a TV display because it's definitely a product that you have to see in order to understand. So I figured what better way to show people a demonstration than playing a few videos on a TV. That way I wouldn't have to verbally explain something that would be better understood when shown via video. And lastly, I got a wagon for like 25 bucks to transport everything, and a few storage bins to keep everything inside of and make it easier to transport. Also, during one of my trips to pick up a few items, some girl was moving out and she gave me this bench for free. So now I use it to store some of my supplies when I'm not using them. So that was a really cool bonus and I'm really excited about that bench. So that was everything that I purchased from Facebook Marketplace. I also purchased a whole bunch of other things from Amazon and other various websites. I got things like, hold on, let me just check my list. I got a TV stand, gift bags, thank you cards, a square chip reader for credit cards, which was really helpful, tablecloth, paint for my Kyra board. I got my company banner from Walgreens, which I'm really happy about. I got that for 60% off during a sale, so yeah, Walgreens is where it's at. I got a fidget spinner for my spin wheel that I intended to craft myself, and Velcro to keep certain things together. In total, I spent... So yeah, even though I did get a lot of my supplies from Facebook Marketplace, I will link what I can down below just in case you guys are also interested in collecting those items. So check that out. Let's get crafty. The first thing I worked on was the prize wheel spinner. This had two components, the stand and the actual wheel that people would spin. I started off with the stand and created the frame using cardboard from Amazon boxes I had lying around. I wanted the top part to have an arc, so here you see me bending and folding the framing piece to my liking. I know it's a little bit confusing now, but you know, just bear with me and watch as I craft. Moving on from the frame, here I'm drawing the front piece of the stand, which I will cut out. This is what I want the prize wheel to look like from the front. I needed two of these pieces, so I drew and cut out both. I glued the framing piece to the front piece with my hot glue gun. Then, to make the stand more sturdy so it wouldn't cave in on itself in the event I placed something on top of it by accident, I cut out extra pieces of cardboard and glued them inside the space where the front and back pieces would be. Then after that, I pretty much sandwiched everything together and placed the back piece of the stand on top and then glued it to that side framing piece. Also, you see how I was able to put that weight on top of the stand and it didn't cave in? Yeah, that's the exact reason why I added the extra support on the inside. So while I let that set and dry, I moved on to creating the actual wheel. So for this, I needed 3 circles. I glued the first 2 together. After they were glued together, I drew a circle that was a little bit bigger than the diameter of the circle piece of my fidget spinner. I used an X-Acto knife to cut out that circle. Then I placed my spinner in the exact center of that hole and glued the spinner to the cardboard. I kept that little circle I had cut out of the cardboard and glued it to the spinner on the other side. I flipped everything over and then added that third circle I cut out to cover the hole, and now I was free to paint and design it however I want. I threw on some supports on the back of the stand, painted it white, and printed out what prizes I wanted and attached it to the wheel using push pins, and voila! Now I had a spin prize wheel that I created from scratch. Next, I created informational boards about the adhesive my shapewear uses. All I did was print out what I wanted the boards to look like, glued it to some cardboard, and cut it out. And from there, I pretty much did the same thing with my how-to information board. I printed out what I wanted on the board, cut it out, and glued it to a piece of cardboard that I had painted white. I also included pictures to help people visualize. I picked up those pictures from Walgreens as well. So I didn't get this part on film and I'm so mad about that. Basically, I forgot to film myself cutting out the Kira boards, but long story short, I basically fooled around with some shapes here and there and drew inspiration from the pictures that I had saw on Pinterest, and I figured out what I wanted my Kiara Anyway, I knew I wanted my display to look like this. So I got out a ruler, pencil, and box cutter, and I created my Cairo boards out of the foam boards that I had purchased off of Facebook Marketplace. I mixed the paint that I had gotten off of Amazon to create those different varying shades of nude, and I was very, very happy with how everything came out. It was exactly how I envisioned it. After that, my dad and I sawed up some wood and created stands for the boards so they wouldn't go flying around. For the shorter pieces, I just attached a cardboard box to it with Velcro and added some water bottles inside of the box to weigh it down, and it worked out perfectly. And for the board that was really, really tall, I used slabs of wood as a backing with Velcro, of course, to make it easy to set up and break down and transport in my car. This also prevented the board from just flapping around in the wind. And lastly, I created a display board with my shapewear so people would be able to, you know, feel the fabric, stretch it, and just, you know, get a feel for what they were purchasing. But of course, I could not find footage for that. So you're just gonna have to watch part 2 if you want to see how everything came together. So that was everything I purchased and crafted in order to prepare for the fair. I think it took me about a week or 2 to gather and construct everything, but it was definitely well worth the time that I spent. So I'm very happy about how it turned out, which you can also see by tuning in to part 2, where I basically take you guys along with me to see everything that happened live during my very first pop-up shop. So stay tuned for that, guys. Peace!